Hi, Peter Charles here, and let's talk about biases in camera and lens reviews. Now, I'm not talking about the fanboy bias or the got free stuff bias. I'm talking about a more insidious one that's harder to spot, but can really influence you because it's so subtle. So let's talk about it. Okay, recently I was looking at the Fujifilm 18-135, thinking in terms of being a family lens, a vacation lens, that sort of thing. It's a great focal length range. Reading reviews, I know this lens is not particularly sharp. I know that. I've heard that a long time ago. So I'm reading a particular review, and they said basically that it's not a particularly sharp lens, blah, blah, blah. I also looked at a non-Fujifilm brand lens that was roughly in the same focal length range, and the same reviewer said it's a reasonably sharp lens, it's not too bad. And yet when I looked at the resolution charts for both lenses, the Fujifilm was actually marginally better than the non-Fujifilm lens. But the reviewer said that the non-Fujifilm lens was actually relatively sharp, and he dumped on the Fujifilm 18-135. So I was thinking about that. I've run across this before, don't get me wrong, I've seen this multiple times. But I was thinking about what causes it. Well, if you're a reviewer and you're reviewing a relatively old product that's had dozens and dozens of reviews on it, and you've probably read them all, you're going to pick up a bias from those reviews. So if you read that the 18-135 is not a sharp lens, well, what do you say in your review? You're not going to contradict the other 20 or 30 reviews that you've read. You're just going to say, yeah, it's not a particularly sharp lens. But if you're reviewing a relatively new product that doesn't have a long review history, you're in a position to actually make the public perception of that particular piece of kit. So in the case of the much newer non-Fujifilm lens that covered that range, the reviewer said it's relatively sharp. And when we look at the resolution tables, the Fujifilm is actually marginally sharper. So there's the big problem, is when we're reading reviews and somebody is saying something negative about a particular lens or camera body, is that really just a projection of what they've read before? Have they really, really thought about it and really looked at it? And that's what got me started on this, is that you're getting somebody saying, this lens is not sharp and this lens is sharp in their written comments, but in their actual resolution charts, it doesn't match their comments. So what can we do about it? Well, I would think that when you're looking at comparing two lenses, what the person says, Michelle, I'll restart that. If you're looking at, say, two lenses, and you have the opportunity to see resolution charts, MTF curves, anything you like, you've got access to that kind of data, which tends to be hard data. That's what I'd be paying attention to more than the written comments. I had the same issue with Fujifilm AF. We know autofocus in Fujifilm has had a history of not being that great, but I've had excellent performance out of my current lenses, including the cameras, including the XH2 that's filming me right now. And when I am looking at my Sony that I used to have and compare it to my XS20, well, if you went out to reviewers and said which one has the best autofocus, they'd all say the Sony. Wrong. My XS20 had better autofocus than the Sony. So these things become self-fulfilling prophecies, if you want to put it that way. The more reviews are there, the more they tend to copy each other and what they say. So for us, I think stick to the hard data, and don't get too wrapped up in the verbiage, because it can be inconsistent. So give that some thought the next time you're looking at some camera or lens reviews. Cheers.